Okay, I debated over what chapter this little story would belong in. I guess it belongs more in human resource management, but I was tempted to put it under design and structure for a number of reasons, but here we are. So when I was with KPMG Consulting, I worked in telephony support in Philadelphia, and my job was there all the time. I commuted in every week, and I worked on a daily usage feed project, and it was fine. And there came a time when I was bored with it, and also the person who hired me, this guy's name is Tom Pankey. He lived in Florida. He worked in Orlando, actually. He worked on the Bell South account. He was what's called a named account rep. And as a named account rep, he and his team worked exclusively with Bell South. When he hired me, he got me this job in Philadelphia, at least to get started. And then later, he really wanted me to join his team. When I went to do so, I had a talk with him on the telephone. He had expressed interest in bringing me down to it. Sorry, I said Orlando. It was Atlanta. And I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I would need to move down there with my wife and children. And I would need to give up some of the perks of traveling, quite frankly. They paid pretty well as a salary, and then there was good money in just your per diem and so forth in Philadelphia. It's $46 a day. For food, I don't eat $46. I eat $6. So it's $40 of cash, non-taxable. So I mentioned to him, Tom, look, I'm happy to do that. I think that I would do well down in with your team in Atlanta. But Atlanta is much more expensive than Chattanooga, and I have to move, and I give up my travel money because I would live locally and travel in. And so that's going to cost me, I can't remember now, I should, but it was $20,000 or $30,000. It's going to, I roughly estimate $20,000 or $30,000. I was really biting my tongue because I thought he's going to balk at that. He's not going to give me that kind of raise. And he simply said, that's fair, and we can do that. And so we set out to do it. I was wishing that I had asked for 100,000 or something because it was so easy. And then I was disappointed because several weeks later he was pursuing that, and he said HR has a policy, only 5% raise, and this would be more than 5%. And so that's, oh wow, that's unfortunate. And he said, don't worry about it. And I remember the conversation so well. I said, well, what do you mean don't worry about it? If they won't let you give me the money, then I won't have the salary, and I really can't make the move. So there's something to worry about. And he said, well, are you gonna rent a house or buy it? And I said, well, we'll rent because we're not ready to buy one down there. We'll have to sell our house. And he said, no, you're not. I'm gonna rent it for you. I don't know why. It's weird. And he said, you gonna have cable TV? I said, yeah, I guess we will. Internet. You gonna pay for that? I said, yeah. I said, no, you're not. I'm gonna pay for that. And then I started to catch on, and I was like, okay, you're gonna pay for things. And he said, I will take this out of my expense budget to a point at which your salary is up to that, what I promised you. And then next year we'll go and we'll get you the 5% raise this year, and next year we'll get you as much raise as we can until it's all made right. The lesson here, I think, and it was of course a great experience for me because that was money, and I appreciated him keeping his word with me and working around the system. He wasn't lying, cheating, stealing, or doing anything unethical in the organization. He simply wasn't willing for a policy that was put in place in HR to stop him from doing something good with a good employee. This needed to happen. I needed to be moved down to Atlanta to work in Bell South. Now, as it turns out, I got laid off shortly after that. And so there was no move, there was no pay or anything. But I really respected him because he understood rules and policies. Rules are there not to break. If you break a rule, you get in trouble. Policies are a little flexible. Policies are those things where you go to the structure, to the managerial structure, to HR, whoever, and say, I know that this is the policy, but I have an exceptional circumstance and I need to get around that policy somehow or another. And he did it. I respect him for that. And if I had stayed, I would have really liked to have that money. But they canned me.